Hey guys, now that you guys have had 24 hours to well, less than that, but to kind of reflect on the season, what are kind of your overall reflections of what this group was able to accomplish?
Less than 24 hours. I think just incredibly proud of what they've accomplished, and the on-field successes are obvious. We've all seen that and lived that journey with them. But this was in any way you want to define the word team, this was it. These guys played like a team, and behind the scenes they behaved like a team, and that was on from start to finish. And even last night, we flew today in part because we thought that was what was best for going to New York if it went that way. And just to see the group come together last night. Nobody went their separate ways. A lot of us got together, stayed together, and this is a group that top to bottom, roster itself, the staff, everybody, genuinely, I think, liked each other, and that's something you rarely ever experience, and we did.
Eric, maybe just to start with you, and then Chaim or Kevin also. It was a lot of the thing we heard from a lot of the players last night was they were pleased and they were proud about how this season ended, but they really think the future is ahead. They're expecting better things and feel like the core is here. Kind of what is your, I know you don't have any idea what moves other teams are going to make, what you're going to make, but what's your sense going forward?
I think setting aside the wins and the trajectory of the wins and what that would imply about what's next, I mean, that supports it. But this is a young team. They have the potential to be together for a while here, and have already, have found success early in their careers on average. And with some of the talent we have underneath that's coming, I think it provides every reason to believe that the future is more optimistic than where we stand today.
Go ahead, Aaron.
I mean, these guys did a lot, battling through a lot of obstacles. A lot of things, it sounds funny to say this in a season when we won 96 games in the regular season, but there were a lot of things, especially on the injury front, that didn't go our way. And that allowed a lot of other guys to emerge and allowed a lot of guys to build confidence. And now that they've tasted this, we got a good sense, playing that Houston club of, where the bar is. And I think it's just going to make everybody hungrier to come back and be a little better.
I agree with what they both said. I think that, as an organization, we did a good job this year of kind of tempering our real feelings about some of these injuries that came up throughout the season, but they were daggers. But you didn't sense that from the players. And then I'll also fall back on the experience that we just gained over the last, really, the September and then over the last 10 days. That's invaluable. And you look at the youth and the natural progression, what we saw Willy Adames do from last year to this year. Not everybody's going to do that, but certainly excited about people continuing to improve.
This is a question for everyone. You kept hearing the players talking about how much fun it was and the camaraderie they had this year. When you were working on this roster, and then I guess looking to the future as well, how important is it to find quality personalities, not just talent?
It's really important. Look, the priority and the starting point has to be talent. Everybody getting along with each other. It's a lot harder to get along with each other if you don't have a lot of talent. You're not winning. But that being said, it was not lost on us how well this group clicked last year and some of the challenges that they faced, and they overcame to winning 90 games. And I think we went into this winter, again, prioritizing talent, but being very mindful of the people we were bringing in. Charlie Morton, if he's not Charlie Morton the person, Charlie Morton's not a Ray. And I think that goes for all the guys that we brought in. Once you have a good thing going and you're competitive and you recognize that culture's there, you really don't want to do anything to disrupt that, if at all possible.
Kevin, congratulations on the great season. What do you tell the players last night after the defeat, and what you can tell the fans that packed this stadium Monday and Tuesday, and they were dreaming last night and you can beat the Astros last night?
Yeah, a quick conversation, just many thanks. Thanks for the effort. Thanks for the energy. Look, I would make the argument that we were as fun a team to watch over 6.5 months as any team in baseball. They get that. They were disappointed. The last thing you want to do is get too long-winded because they're frustrated that their season's over. But I think they're going to appreciate that in the coming weeks, days, whatever it is. And as far as the fans go, what they did, the 2 games here was unbelievable. It helped us win games, just like it helped Houston win games in their ballpark. But our fans, for them to show out the way they did, that was just an awesome experience that I don't think any of those players will ever forget.
This is probably Eric and Chaim. As you guys said, the team is young. You have a lot of these guys under control. But given the unique circumstances you have to operate under fiscally, should anybody be surprised at any kind of move you make in the offseason?
All you.
Well, I think some of some of our success has come from not putting ourselves in a box as far as what types of moves we're willing to consider. We have to be, creative and resourceful and create a lot of options to try to make this roster as good as it can be. We've always looked at, some of the challenges we face on the revenue side as just motivation, not something that we feel limits us or defines us. It's just going to push us to be better, and that's what we're going to try to do.
Hey, Kevin, there's still a lot of talk today about the glass now and the pitch tipping. And just one thing you said last night, if maybe you could go into a little more, is you said you guys had been aware it had been a problem, but you can't really correct it like on the fly in a game 5 of an ALDS. Like, just what do you mean by that? Like, you can't just send Kyle out there and say, hey, you're doing it again, kind of thing?
Yeah, I think that's kind of challenging to do that. The last thing we want to do, I mean, these pitchers are so locked in, and Glass was certainly locked in, but to go out there and ask him, give him the heads up, then he's not focusing on what he should be focusing on, and that's getting hitters out and throwing strikes. But no doubt, it's challenging. And look, Tyler Glasnow is not the only guy that's ever done that. There's a lot of pitchers in baseball that do that. I still think you got to give a ton of credit to the Houston Astros. That lineup for what they did against those type of pitches is really impressive. And I understand the story, but I still look at how quickly that unfolded gives all the credit to Houston's top 5 hitters.
Did it change in the second inning? Did he stop doing it? Because they didn't do that until after the first inning.
No, nothing changed. No.
For Eric and Chaim, now that you got the taste of the playoffs, do you operate things differently in the offseason, or is it just kind of doing what you guys usually do?
Not in these seats. We've experienced the playoffs before here, and it was nice to have an updated sense for what those experiences are like, and how appreciative you are for to have them, and for the players especially to have them. But I think, had we won 96 games and not reached the postseason versus having reached the postseason, I don't know if our thought process is much different. I think it's much more that we're putting ourselves in the territory where we are expecting to be one of the most competitive, one of the most talented teams moving forward in the American League. And with that, the balancing of your immediate term, near term versus your long term, it shifts a little bit to the present, and really that's the goal. We don't want to be too short-sighted, but we want, when that balance is there's some pressure on the present, that's ultimately where we want to be, and that's where we are. So something I hope we don't take for granted and don't expect us to.
Eric, just to go back to you for a second, I mean, Stu said last night, between the talent you have and the talent you have coming, he feels like you guys kind of control your own destiny. Do you see it as a matter of trying to meld all that, or still being aggressive in, getting additions, whether specific or, as you guys tend to do, kind of canvas the market? Do you see it as a busy off season?
Yeah, we're more equipped to compete with what we have right now, and obviously we're losing a few guys to free agency, and we'll see how each of those play out, and don't want to rule anything out with any of those guys too. But yeah, I mean, I think as as thick as we are right now. I think we're satisfied with the talent we have on hand, but I think it's just in our DNA and our mode of operation that we have an off-season months to play with, to think about things, and we can't help ourselves but think about how to make the team better, and that's our job, and we'll do that, and we'll be open to things, but do like our starting position here going into the winter.
Ultimately, this is Stu's decision, but have you gotten any parameters in terms of what payroll will look like next year?
No, I mean, we have an idea, but look, there's always going to be some flexibility for the right fit at the right time. Very rarely is there a fixed number in a sense that we have to operate under. It's it's kind of, I would say, more of a range, but not something that we've gotten into too deeply. I think first it's important to survey the landscape, the market, what our needs are, and then what's available, what's the inventory, and then kind of work backwards from there about whether it makes sense to prioritize and invest more money into the upcoming season versus potentially looking at other opportunities down the road. So that's not to set expectations any one way. I just think that we're afforded the opportunity that while our revenues are limited, we are afforded the opportunity to have some flexibility and not force it when the opportunity to add talent's not there.
A couple small things. Kevin, first, you lost a couple coaches last offseason. Do you anticipate some guys getting interviews or any changes to the staff or anything?
I don't anticipate any changes. We got a really good group, great staff. I think they do a good job of keeping the positive vibe while helping players get better. As far as what, there's probably a lot of discussions out there right now. I would imagine that we've got some people on our staff or within our organization that are looked upon very highly. And we just have to see how it unfolds here over the coming weeks. But can't thank the staff enough for the work this season.
And Eric, just from a medical standpoint, Honeywell status, Pham said he was going to get some stuff done, and also what are the plans for McKay as far as pitching, hitting?
Yeah, with regard to Brent, the plan all along has been that he wasn't going to throw until around a little past the new year, and that remains the case. I mean, we know this kid is as intense and strong a competitor as anyone I think we've been around, and just for him not to have tasted competitive baseball for a couple of years is tough. But he's going to get through this, and we'll see obviously how he does once he starts. Once he picks up a ball. There are things, obviously guys at this stage of the year are playing through a lot of stuff, and Tommy, obviously that was very well documented. What he was able to do down the stretch, playing through what he did is pretty remarkable, and now we can take a breath, and these guys can take a breath and figure out if and how they want to address it, or if it's just a question of rest, for the winter. As far as Brendan, that's something we're going to need to talk about. It's a fun position to be in, really neat and fortunate to have somebody who has as many different talents as he does. We got to see what he could do on both sides of the ball really throughout the season, and now that he's tasted the major leagues, we've learned a little more, he's learned a little more, and we're going to put our heads together, and obviously, with Brendan, figure out what's the best way to help him win, to have him help us win as many games as we can next year.
We saw a lot of guys just kind of improve throughout the season, but then you saw guys like Robertson and Alvarado just kind of struggle. Do you guys just chalk that up as a bad season? How do you guys kind of view situations like that with also younger players?
Yeah, we say it a lot, and I think you see it a lot, that progress is not always just a straight line. And, we've seen that with guys. You saw it with Blake Snell, who obviously, the guy won a Cy Young, but it wasn't a straight line to get there. And even this year, it wasn't a straight line. And so not everybody is just going to, take one step after the other. There's going to be bumps in the road. I think you saw that with some guys. You never want to walk away from talent. And, you talk about someone like Alvarado. We know how talented he is. We know what he can be. And we're probably not sitting here doing this right now if not for what he did the first couple months of the season. We just got to help him get back there. We know the talent is there.
Thanks again for coming. We're going to open up the clubhouse for a little while. Players can pack it up. Kind of limited, just a handful of actually happen to be here, so welcome to join us down here over a while. Thank you.
Hey, thanks to all you guys throughout the season. You guys appreciate talking to you guys and the conversations. You guys do a good job. Thanks for the relationships, and we'll pick it up
Ditto.
February, Mark?
You don't want to call you.